Welcome into another edition of the JMac podcast. This time, another COVID-19 update. And an important question, should we listen to students when it comes to wearing a mask? This is because students have apparently been trying to overthrow the will of their parents, as parents have been trying to put together protests and trying to get their kids medical exemptions to not wear a mask. I was speaking with somebody involved in the school district today, and they said that they are amazed at how many students are wearing their masks willingly, even though many of their parents have tried to get the doctor's note or something like that. And then I saw the story in the Salt Lake Tribune that Utah students are imploring parents to stop fighting mask mandates. From the mouth of babes. Here's some text from the article. High school seniors who pushed back against recent anti-mask protests joined Governor Herbert at a weekly briefing Wednesday, imploring parents to please stop fighting Utah's face covering mandate in schools. 3 Enterprise High School students voiced frustration with parents and other community members who recently planned a no mask protest in St. George on Monday. The students said they're willing to wear a mask to keep their school open and prevent any further disruptions to their educational experience. They said we shouldn't be throwing away the opportunity to be in extracurriculars and to be in person and socialize over something as small as wearing a mask. I feel like the opinion of parents and adults in general right now are just a big part of the problem, one student said. Now, my wife works at a high school, and she left her phone at home. So as I was getting ready to go out and deliver for DoorDash, I saw her phone sitting there. And I'm like, I'm gonna drop it off at work, be the nice husband, the nice guy. And I walked up to the high school front door, and there's huge signage that says masks required. And then I walk through the doors, and it's the common area, and there's students everywhere. And guess what? They're all wearing masks, and they look perfectly happy and comfortable. And I think a lot of them choosing to do so. Now, I've also driven by a lot of elementary schools as I'm out and about, and I can tell you that the minute they get out of the schools, the masks are coming off. But they're in smaller groups at that time, walking home with people who they see on a regular basis, their neighbor, whatever. So maybe that won't have as big an impact. Now, I've been predicting that the return to schools is going to cause more COVID outbreaks, and we're going to have to put the brakes on it and return. The reason that there might be an exception to that, and that I might be wrong, is if the students themselves are deciding to wear a mask. Everybody said, remember, we heard it over and over again, you can't get these kids to wear a mask. Are you kidding me? They're not going to do that. Well, a lot of our kids are really socially aware. They're up to date on what's going on, and they're deciding to do it for their friends and for their family. I think it's pretty amazing to see kids set a profound example. So thanks, kids. Thanks for standing up for yourselves and for sending a powerful message. I've said the entire time that I don't think this should be about civil liberties. I think that this should be about kindness. And the way I feel is I would feel terrible if I knowingly spread the virus to somebody. I would feel awful when the choice to wear a mask is so simple. It's such a minor inconvenience. Can you imagine finding out that you were the reason somebody else caught COVID and they died? Or they got sick and they had symptoms and it hurt their heart or their lungs for the rest of their life? I mean, this, to me, is what we should be thinking about. Being good neighbors, loving your neighbor, having a Christian attitude towards those around us. And I think that's what you're seeing from these kids. So I think it's a wonderful example. And maybe that means that the increases won't happen. Although just here recently, we've seen an uptick in the state of Utah. I don't know if that's because of the schools or what. I hope I'm wrong in that case. I really do. I don't want this to continue. I really don't. because we're heading towards another Great Depression if it does continue, and I don't want that. Now, you've heard of the Sturgis motorcycle rally, and experts warned that there would be a coronavirus super spreader event if the folks at Sturgis got together. They decided that they would, and there were 10,000 or so attendees, most of whom did not wear a mask, and they were within close proximity to each other. And we're finding out now that this was an event that actually spread COVID-19 to more than 8 states because they just had to get together.
The North Dakota Department of Health said COVID-19 cases linked to the Sturgis motorcycle rally earlier this month in South Dakota have been confirmed in 8 states. NBC News reports the health department tweeted Monday that 17 additional people, quote, who are connected with the crowded rally have tested positive for coronavirus. The agency says, quote, those who attended the rally should closely monitor for symptoms and get tested at a free North Dakota testing site.
So these are just the initial numbers. I hope they stay that low. If they did, then I don't think you could call it a super spreader event. But, because of people wandering around asymptomatic, spreading this thing around, it's hard to know what the longer term effects will be. So we'll continue to watch that. And I mentioned that, if we continue down the road we're on, we're heading towards a Great Depression. We're seeing signs of that with companies across the nation filing for bankruptcy, going out of business. And much of it is happening because our members of Congress and the Senate cannot get together. They cannot overcome their differences for the good of the country, for the future of this country. And they are the only ones who have the power to do this. And that was made clear today in an announcement from American Airlines.
Company dropping an 8K outlining the elimination of 40,000 jobs in the company starting on October 1st. Now, some of these they've already outlined, but we've got a number of these figures here. We're going to work our way through them. 12,500 employees will take an early retirement package. 11,000 are taking voluntary leave. And then you've got 19,000 jobs that are being cut. Of this, 17,500 are frontline employees who will be furloughed. 2 big groups within that. The flight attendants, 30% of the American flight attendants starting October 1st will be furloughed. That comes out to 8,100 flight attendants. Of the 15,000 pilots at American, 1,600, roughly speaking, 1,600 or 11% will be furloughed. Again, 19,000 jobs will be cut on October 1st. As part of the announcement today, American CEO Doug Parker, along with President Robert Isom, out with a note saying, we must prepare for the possibility that our nation's leadership will not be able to find a way to further support aviation professionals and the service we provide, especially to smaller communities. This is in reference to the discussions in Washington about another CARES Act relief package of $25 billion, John. If that were to go through, then these jobs that they're saying will be cut on October 1st, well, those employees would stay on the payroll through the end of March. And while there is bipartisan support for another $25 billion for the airlines, that's only if we see a stimulus package. And a lot of people are saying, what's the odds of that happening before October 1st?
Pretty sad when they're saying we must be prepared for the fact that our leaders, the only people who can help us, are not going to be able to get their act together and overcome their differences. That's pretty scary. So that's American Airlines. Also, bank profits slumped 70% as the virus rakes businesses and households. So banks are suffering because they're offering all of these temporary measures to home loans and forbearance and those types of things. So their profits are way down and they're going to be laying off people soon. This is just going on across the country, and it doesn't have to be if we would choose leaders who could put the country first, who could put you first instead of their partisan power and their partisan bickering. But I guess that is just too much to ask. And then talking about a super spreader event, a new study shows that a Boston event that hosted only 175 attendees in February might have led to about 20,000 coronavirus cases in 4 Massachusetts counties by early May. Now, I want you to think about that for a minute. Now, the key to this event was that this was pre-knowledge of COVID, or it was just starting out. So they had no safety precautions at this event. And because of that, 175 attendees resulted in 20,000 cases. Now, to those who don't want the safety precautions, who don't want to wear the masks, this is exactly what the possibilities are. And look, I understand that you don't want to wear a mask. There have been claims that they affect your oxygen levels. Those have been disputed. There's really been no real findings that I can see that show any severe medical problems from wearing a mask. But there is one major issue that many people are starting to get concerned about.
It's a new term, but not a new concept. Maskne, a collection of skin disorders caused by irritation from a mask. And now it's affecting more than football players and frontline workers.
Definitely just feeling a little sweaty underneath, but probably the last few days, noticing just a little redness, maybe a little oilier.
Board-certified dermatologist Dr. Lisa Pruitt says maskne is a common complaint amongst her patients these days.
Definitely we're having patients come in, specifically for maskne. And then I'm also just having a lot of patients that, are coming in for their annual skin exams. And then, I have them remove their mask. And then they bring it up to me.
She says the list of contributing factors is long, including heat and sweat, creating moisture trapped beneath a face covering.
And bacteria and yeast love to grow in that environment.
Doctors say one type of mask isn't better or worse than any other when it comes to maskne. They say the most important factor is keeping them clean.
You really want to think of your mask almost as, almost like underwear. You really want to wear a new one every day. If you put in the same one on day after day, you just have more increased risk of inflammation.
Yeah, I don't want to think of masks like underwear. That's not what I want to do. I haven't had any maskne, but this is the perfect answer right here. See the beard, because that gives a little bit of separation between my face and the mask. So no maskne. And I wear a mask every single day while I'm out delivering food to the good people of the state of Utah. So not worried about the maskne here. Maybe you should grow a beard if that's a big time problem for you. Now that's our COVID-19 update for the day. Do me a favor, take a minute and become a subscriber to the podcast, a patron. That means you commit to a monthly donation, $1 a month, $5 a month, $10 a month, whatever you can do. Or you can make a one-time donation. Details are in the description of this podcast. I really appreciate your help. It will help me bring more of these stories to you on a regular basis and help cut through the madness that is the news cycle today and get to some level of truth and better understanding.